Hey troops, this is Jeff Evely, Ops Sgt-Maj with Veterans for Freedom. I'm back with you now. I have with us Veterans for Freedom member Darrell Inkster, or maybe I don't. We've been having a little bit of trouble getting Darrell connected here for the last little while. I'm not sure if it's something maybe with the internet in this area or something, but he just kind of keeps dropping out of the stream. But oh, Darrell's back now. Okay. Darrell, I think you're having some trouble with your internet connectivity or something there, buddy.
Yeah, it could be.
We're going to do it. We're just going to power through this thing, I think, and try to do the best we can with just the audio and so forth, and that's just fine. The idea is here to get the content out. And Darrell contacted me about an experience that he had with Canada Post. And this has a lot of overlap, I guess, with some of my own experience in dealing with some of the government institutions during this pandemic. I've been defying the mandates since I medically released from the military in September of 2021, but Darrell, you got some music coming over your mic there, buddy. I just muted you. Yeah, I've had a similar experience as to his, and there's kind of a human rights issue, I think, at play here. Not just I think, but you know, I was a qualified harassment advisor for the last 15 years of my military career, and I know a lot of people go and get that check in the box just to have it on their MPRR so they can get some credit for it at the end of the year. But you know, I actually applied it, and I was a WRA or an HA my entire career. So I gave the presentations, and I didn't phone it in either. I didn't just copy somebody else's you know, slide deck and then get up there and read it to the troops. I did my homework on this, and so this has all been kind of my my hobby horse for a number of years, human rights, that is, and a lot of the complaints processes within the Canadian Armed Forces, because, you know, I care whether or not the institution I belong to is treating people fairly. So I had a lot of involvement in that, and I'm finding that throughout this whole pandemic process, a lot of this stuff has really kind of gone by the wayside in terms of you know, prohibited grounds for discrimination, and this is clearly a human rights issue. Before we even get into, you know, the right to peaceably assemble that was trampled all over literally in Ottawa, there's a much broader concern that I think affects everybody here, and that is it's an issue of basic human dignity here in Canada, and whether the state actually respects that. And I certainly have some questions with regards to that. But it's not my rant today, it's Darrell's. So Darrell, I think I'll just go ahead and hand this over to you before I hog all the airtime. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about what happened, a little bit about your, we'll start with your story and what kind of motivated you to come out and talk about this here today.
Okay, I don't know if you can still hear me good or not, but I kind of almost lost you.
You're good.
I can hardly hear you at all. I can see you good, but I can't hear what you're saying very good.
Okay. Maybe somebody in the comments just let me know if you're having troubles hearing me as well, or if it's just on Darrell's end. Okay. Go ahead, Darrell. Go ahead and tell your story. You're coming through loud and clear.
All right. Well, you know, I pick up my mail at the post office in Dauphin and the lock boxes. And since all this pandemic stuff began, I never had a problem. I never wore a mask. I had an exemption right from day one from the doctor, and everything was okay. Until one day last September, I had to rush in at a little after 5 p.m. to just get a stamp to send a letter to my lawyer in Winnipeg and send him a check, and it had to be there on Friday.
Right.
And this was a Thursday afternoon. And I walked in the post office just like I always do, and I was accosted before. And, you know, there was a crowd in there. There was probably 5 or 6 people waiting in line to get services. And this guy just proceeded to bark at me to put a mask on. And I said, hey, no, I don't wear a mask. I'm medically exempt. And he wouldn't even listen to me. And I carry a letter with me all the time. And I said to him, I said, no, I don't wear a mask. And he was shoving it at me, insisting I put the damn thing on.
Creepy.
And, you know, I don't get embarrassed that easily, but I was embarrassed that day because the lobby was full. And this guy's yelling at me to put this mask on.
Yeah.
So I kind of just, you know, I tried to keep my cool because I didn't want any trouble in there. And I said, look, I'll go back out to the truck and I'll bring the letter in for you. No way, he said. You got three choices. You either put a mask on or you designate somebody to pick up your mail, or I'm going to call the RCMP.
Yep.
Now, when he said the RCMP thing, he might as well have punched me in the head and said, hey, I'm going to take you down. You know, that's what I heard. So as soon as he said that, I basically lost my cool. And, you know, it became a him against me thing. So I barked back at him and I said, hey, man, call the cops. Do it. Call them right now. I said, I'm not leaving here until you call them and we get this straightened out. Because, you know, at that point, I didn't know what he was going to say to the police. And I didn't want to get the cops kicking my door in at 2 a.m. with him saying that I threatened him or something. Right. You know, I didn't know what to expect. So I went outside. Like I told him, I said, you call them right now. I went back outside and it was hot. It was really hot out. And I sat outside in my 4Runner for a while and no cops. So I went back in and there was still a few people there in the lobby. And I hollered at him because he wouldn't let me even come inside the building. I said, did you call the RCMP? Yes, he said, I did. So I said, okay. I went back outside again, waited another 15 or 20 minutes, still no cops. So I just jumped in my truck and I went down to the local detachment and I figured, well, I'll find a cop down there and I'll talk to them. And the detachment was closed already. They closed at 5 and I couldn't find a member around. So I just sat in the driveway for a bit. And one of them came into the yard in his personal vehicle. He was just coming on duty. And I told him what happened. And I said, I want you to come back to that post office with me and straighten this shit out. I need a member to come with me. And he says, well, I can't. I'm going out on a call tonight. He said, I can't go. You'll just go back to the post office, he said, and phone them, ask for the postmaster, and get it straightened out that way. So I drove back to the post office and I looked up the number and I called it. And it was the same girl that was at the counter with this guy who answered the phone. And I told him told her who I was, and I said dial number, and I called it. Told him who I was, and the guy says, "Yeah, that was me. That was me." He says.
Yeah.
So here I was fighting with the actual postmaster of the office, and I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, well, it looks like we're going to have a problem." And I said, "I'll be talking with you later." So I sat there for a few minutes and I figured out, oh, screw this. I'm going to phone 911. And of course, I'm going to get a Winnipeg dispatcher.
Yeah. And
I told them what was going on. And she said, well, is it an emergency? And I said, no, not yet, but it could turn into one. And I'm trying to stop that.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to go home with this hanging in the air, not knowing what's going to happen next. I said, I want a couple members down here so we can straighten this out. So she says, okay, Mr. Inkster, just stay where you are. I will put in a call and get a couple of guys to come down and talk with you. Can you still hear me good, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You're coming through loud and clear.
So I waited, and this all happened over a period of about a half an hour. And sure enough, about 5 or 10 minutes, 2 members showed up, one female driver and then a male passenger RCMP. And they came to my vehicle, and apparently this postmaster hadn't even called them because there was no record of a dispatch. So I told them what happened. I explained to them that I'm a veteran and that I have a legitimate exemption, and that I don't need to take that crap from some snot-nosed little peckerhead behind the counter.
Yeah.
I don't need to take that, and I'm not going to take it. I said, I've been coming in here since this nonsense began for over a year, picking up my mail, picking up my parcels at the counter, and I've always been treated with respect by the other 2 guys that I normally deal with, and no problems. They talk to me by name. They always have said hello. And I said, I get this from this guy who I've never seen before. And I said, I want you guys to do something about this. And I said, I got to have this letter delivered. It's time sensitive. All I wanted from him was a stamp. So the male member, he was a nice guy.
He was a nice guy?
He was an older fella. Well, I shouldn't say older. Probably around 40, but he was not a young pup, that's for sure. Okay. In the meantime, while I was talking with him, this postmaster cat, he came out of there and he looked, because I was talking to the cops before he was.
Right.
Anyway, the male RCMP fella, he went back to talk to him, and then he came back and he said, Darrell, he said he offered you options. And I said, horse shit, he did. The options he offered me was be a goofball and wear a mask. Yeah. Or get someone else to do your mail pickups for you, or handcuffs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's two or
so. As soon as I say, when I'm offered handcuffs, I take extreme offense to that. I didn't do anything wrong. I have legitimate exemptions, not 1, but 2, and almost 3 of them, but 2 for sure. And they're well documented on this letter I have. And he says, well, could I have a look at it? And I said, yeah, you bet you can. I got nothing to hide. So I handed it to the cop, and he read it. And then the female cop asked me if she could read it. And I said, yeah, no problem. I handed it to her. And they read it over, and then the male cop went back to this postmaster, and they both had masks on, and I could see the cop's face moving under that mask. He was giving him shit. Well, good. And then he came back to the car. Yeah. And he said that he talked it over with him, and he said, if you will be okay with it, he said, Darrell, I'll be your postal worker today. He said, you give me the money, I'll give it to him. He said he'll put a stamp on your envelope, and it'll be on the trucks tonight. It'll get there tonight. Nice. Yeah. So I said, okay, well, here's a toonie. That should cover it. And I said, can you ask him why the hell he couldn't have just said that to me in the beginning? And I said, I would have made a paper airplane and threw him a toonie, and he could have put a stamp in that airplane and threw it back at me at the door. I said, we didn't need to go through all this. This is ridiculous. And I just want to point out too, Jeff, this in Manitoba happened on a Thursday, and they were removing the mask restrictions on Saturday morning. So the cop even said to me, he said, I don't understand why he's doing this to you. The restrictions are coming off Saturday. And he said, I can't wait either. I don't want to wear these stupid things. So anyway, and he took my money. and gave it to that young buck. And the envelope went inside the post office, and the cop came back and assured me that it was being taken care of. And then I reached out and I shook the cop's hand. And I said, thanks a lot, man. Common sense prevails. Thank you. Thank you very much. And he said to me, he says, Darrell, he says, you know what some people get like. He said, just go home, have a few beers, have some hot wings, and just forget this ever happened. He says, and then he said, Jeff, and this is significant. He apologized to me on behalf of Canada. He said, I'm sorry this happened to you. Then he said, thank you for your service. And then the young lady cop there, she said the same thing. Thank you for your service. And I said, well, thank you guys for yours. Thank you very much for taking care of this. I didn't want you kicking my doors in at 2 a.m. because of this guy saying I threatened him or something, because I didn't. I just wanted it straightened out.
Yeah, and good on you for taking that tact, I'd say, because it seems like there's no court or this, right?
It was taken care of.
Yeah.
I can hardly hear you.
Okay, I think it's on your end, buddy, but I can hear you. You sound good. You're loud and clear.
Okay, anyway, that was a Thursday, like I said. And I told those cops, right to both of their faces right there on the side of the street, I said, I'm going to be in here tomorrow morning again.
Yeah.
To pick up my mail, same as I do at least every second day. And I'm walking in here with no mask on. And I said, I better not have to go through this again. And they basically said, I don't think you'll have to worry about that. So I did. Friday morning, I was back in there with no mask and nobody bothered me again.
Yeah.
But I decided right then and there, screw this. Like I don't bother anybody. I don't go looking for trouble. I just want the service that I'm entitled to from the government of Canada employees at the post office. That's all I want.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have to beg.
No.
I shouldn't have to fight. And I shouldn't have to be embarrassed into the ground like I was that day. So I wrote out a big letter of complaint to Canada Post, and I sent it in after I had phoned in and talked to somebody there. They told me where to send the complaint to, and I did it. And I also filed a complaint with the Canadian Human Rights Commission because my rights were crapped on.
They sure were.
And I don't take kindly to that. And no Canadian should. And this is why I want to go public. I want people to know that they do not have to take that kind of treatment from any government employee.
That's right.
None. And you need to fight back.
I would.
You have to.
I would take it further than that. It's not just the case that you shouldn't have to take that from any government employee, but any establishment, period.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's a private establishment and it's open to the public, we refuse the right or we reserve the right to refuse service to anybody. But you may not refuse service on prohibited grounds for discrimination.
Exactly.
You can't say we don't serve Jews here, for example. You can't say that we don't serve Black people here because we have human rights laws in this country. And I'm just going to give you a share screen real quick because I think this is important to highlight for people. You're really hitting on a really important point here, Darrell, and that is that all of this stuff is quite illegal. So here is the Canadian Human Rights Act. I know it's a web page, so I'll try to zoom in a little bit here so you guys can get a better look. But it says prescribe discrimination. And if you read here, it says that they are race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender, identity or expression, marital status, family status, genetic characteristics. That one seems to be coming into play here, I think. Disability and conviction for an offense for which a pardon has been granted or in respect for which a record suspension has been ordered. Okay, so yeah, these are the prohibited grounds for discrimination that are all across Canada. And what did you put in your complaint, just out of curiosity? Which one of these grounds did you go with?
Well, sorry, what was that?
Do you recall which grounds you were complaining about here? Which grounds for discrimination you were complaining about in your human rights complaint?
Oh, most certainly, medical disability
There you go.
documented.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here you go. It is right here. Disability. You're not allowed to discriminate on the basis of a disability. So if you have a medical condition that prohibits you from wearing a mask without causing undue harm, of course, then and really, I think that's the case for everybody based on what I've seen coming out of the like the data that I've seen coming out of the biggest mass studies. So yeah, he's got a disability, and am I mistaken there, or were they actually like interrogating you in terms of what that disability was? Like, were you sharing medical information with the police before they would intervene?
No.
Okay.
They did not interrogate me. I offered it up. I got nothing to hide.
Okay, right on. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I just want to point out that, medical information is protected in Canada. Like, we have privacy laws and whatnot, and it's all geared toward this stuff, right? Like, if you have a medical condition, there could be a stigma around that, I mean, especially in a pandemic, whether or not you're vaccinated, for example, that's a medical status question. And so we have a lot of naturally immune people out there, myself included, who have no good reason to take any of this stuff or participate in any of this foolishness. That's
for sure.
Yeah. And I'm sure that they are facing discrimination, say, in the Canadian Armed Forces at this particular moment. And they're being released. Yeah. Huge time, right? Like, this is egregious. This is probably the most widespread, most egregious human rights abuse in human history. I mean, we don't know the fallout right now. Yeah. But I mean, with what we know now and how much time still lies ahead for information to continue coming out, we could very well be facing something like very much on the level of Nuremberg. But I'm gonna skip over here too, because I also pulled up. This is my home province of Nova Scotia's Human Rights Commission.
Well, just for a second, getting back to the RCMP, sure. Like I said, those two members that came to deal with my problem were exemplary. They were on my side, man. They did not demand to see my medical. I just had it laying on the seat, and I told him that I was willing to even show it to that little. It's illegal for him to even ask me for one, but
yeah, that's right.
Because I have no problem with it, I was willing to show it to him.
Yeah,
he wouldn't see it, but the police did not pressure me for that information, not in any way, shape, or form.
No, I got that. I think, you clarified that, and that's good to hear. I think that it sounds like you were very lucky and that you got some highly professional officers who understand the law, and too often these days, I think the cops who are showing up are basically just acting like thugs. And if somebody says, we don't want this person here, then it doesn't even enter into their mind whether that is, discriminatory or not, even when you bring it up. And I know that from just my own experience. When I was defying the mask mandates around my hometown in Nova Scotia, Sydney, Nova Scotia here as well. I got arrested a couple of times myself. So,
you told me that.
Yeah. But you were dealing with the RCMP, and I was dealing with Cape Breton Regional Police. And I'll say again, like, they were good kids. Like, they weren't like chirping me or abusive toward me or anything like that, like they were in Ottawa, when they were arresting me there, and they were all kind of getting off on it and taunting and stuff like that. So I didn't get any of that stuff. from the local police here. They seem to be pretty good kids, but probably just
No,
not very smart when it comes to the finer elements of the law and human rights code, from the sounds of things.
well, I gotta say, like, my experience here, like, that's all we have here is RCMP. We
Mhm.
have no regional police or city police here.
Right.
But my experience with them in regards to all this COVID-19 horse hooey is these guys, they don't want anything to do with it any more than you and I do. They don't want to fight with us about wearing a stupid diaper on our face. They would rather this wasn't existing either. That's been my experience. I've had nothing but good luck. Like I go everywhere without a mask. I always have. And I have never had a problem with the RCMP at all.
That's good to hear.
None.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and we used to have weekly protests here as well, in which I used to drag an old school bus with no engine in it that I had converted into a
what? Hey, Darrell? Okay, I don't seem to be getting Darrell right now. Might be an issue with his connectivity there. He's still in the stream, I see, but Darrell, we're not hearing you. I'll just take a second to kind of fill in some of this stuff about the Human Rights Code. I'm just going to show you what's here in Nova Scotia as well, because I've been working off of this quite a bit with some of my complaints. And Darrell, just, jump in anytime. I don't seem to be getting your audio right now, but feel free to jump in when you can. So yeah, I see some in the comments here. Absolutely, they're operating under a business license that must uphold human rights laws. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one out there who has some awareness about this. But what I've been running into, I guess, with some of the local police that I've been dealing with is they come in and they just say, well, look, I mean, this is a business establishment and it's owned by this person. This is their property or this corporation or whatever. So if they want you to leave the property, then, they have a right to do that. And then I take them to school and some human rights code and tell them, well, no, they're not allowed to tell me to leave if I'm Jewish, for example. Can they do that? Are you going to remove me from this premise if they don't want Jews on these premises? Then you can kind of get them thinking, but the fact of the matter is, I think the decision's already been made, or has already been made before they even get to the scene and start talking to you as to whether or not they're going to be dragging you out of there. At least in my own experience, it sounds like Darrell has been having a much more professional experience in dealing with the RCMP, so that's encouraging. But here are some of the protected characteristics under the Nova Scotia Human Rights Code. And you can see it's very much in line with Canadian Human Rights Code. And we've got like the race, color, religion, creed, ethnic, natural, aboriginal origin, sex, sexual orientation, physical disability, mental disability. So all the usual boilerplate stuff. One thing that the provincial codes tend to cover that is not covered nationally is the political belief, affiliation, or activity. And since we're just waiting for Darrell to come back here, I think I'll just keep rolling with this, guys. Just bear with us. It's a sign of the times here. So same thing here. Here they don't have it nice and broken out into a bulleted list, but you can see it's race, national, or ethnic origin, blah, 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 blah. But oddly enough, they don't seem to have that political affiliation in there, whereas the provincial one does. Okay, and here's some stuff that I've been submitting, and let me see. It looks like it doesn't go all the way to the original message, but as you can see, I'm doing some fighting here on the political grounds, and I'm saying that this is essentially a face burka and a blood sacrifice to show your fealty to this regime. And politically, like this guy is coming back and he's giving me the gears, and he's saying, I've reviewed the information you've provided. I think it was through a web form, and that's why you don't see it in the original email. I have reviewed the information you provided. Can you please clarify what your political belief is and how wearing a mask is connected to it? And I said, well, politically, I'm a liberal. I believe that there can be no human dignity without human liberty. I believe in the rule of law and in constitutional rights. If freedoms are to be restricted, then a high burden of proof must be met, namely the Oakes test, and that's Supreme Court test called the Oakes test. It's named after some guy named Oakes that I think was picked up for drug trafficking when he only had like a couple of grams of marijuana on him or something like that. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they ended up saying that no, you can't just slap him with a trafficking charge for any amount of possession. It has to be the state has to demonstrate that this restriction on the freedom of the individual is reasonable and necessary for the purpose of maintaining the public safety and the public order. And Darrell, I'm not hearing you. Oh, I got him add to stream. Darrell, I just added you back to the stream. Are you with us, buddy? Okay, I don't hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you now too.
Okay, all right, cool. Sorry, buddy, we lost you there, and you kind of fall out of the stream, so that makes me think you have an issue with the internet connection there. But I got you back now, and I was just kind of walking them through a couple of complaints that I've been submitting, and this was to the Nova Scotia Human Rights Commission, and I was doing it on the grounds of my political beliefs, and I'm making some references to legal principles like the Oakes test that basically says that the state has the burden of proof to show that restrictions on our freedoms are reasonable and necessary for the purpose of maintaining the public order. And none of this stuff in terms of the mask mandates or vaccine mandates or any of that stuff has ever been tested in that way. It didn't go through the usual legislative process, so to speak. It all seems to be done by fiat, and so here I am kind of giving the gears to the Human Rights Commission here in Nova Scotia. And okay, so there's the Oakes test, and I said the Nova Scotia government has never provided any evidence-based rationale for any of these mandates or anything they have done, or that anything they have done has actually helped. Mandates are therefore a gross abuse of state power. I am a conscientious objector to these harmful, abusive mandates. Even when drafted for war under the Selective Service Act, citizens can conscientiously object, and they will be exempted. I served in 2 wars because I mistakenly believed I was supporting a country that believed in human rights. Since I can't get back the 20 years of military service from which I was defrauded by this odious boomer-serving state, I am conscientiously objecting to the Stalinist mandates. And that is the line that I've taken in public when I'm dealing with people too. And that's why I started wearing this hat, and I have my pins from Afghanistan and Iraq and NORAD and Nijmegen and all this stuff on there. So when people are getting in my face, I can kind of say, well, I think I've done enough. Maybe I shouldn't have to be conscripted here, because that is what's happening. They're essentially conscripting people's bodies into this effort, and it's harmful to them. So there's a legal process for conscription in Canada, and that hasn't been followed. And so I'm not playing along, and neither is Darrell. What do you think, Darrell? Are you there? Okay, I'm just checking to see if I lost him again. Let me see.
For sure.
Okay, we lost you.
Can you hear me yet?
I hear you now. Yeah.
Hear me? Okay.
Yep.
No, I just said good for you, and thank you very much for your service. I mean, that's
oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, that's why I'm fighting back. Is never mind being a veteran, but just being a Canadian citizen, the whole government's been crapping down our necks. I've always been a loudmouth SOB. I never put up with somebody trying to ram something down my neck from the top, unless it's, if they can prove that it's justified, yeah. But this, I mean, if you have any kind of gray matter in your head, and you analyze what's been happening right since this began in January of 2019, you'd have to shake your head and say, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this?
Walk me through it. Can you explain to me in detail exactly what's going on here and how this works?
Well, number one, Jeff, I don't know if you remember the AIDS epidemic back in the late 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I was probably your age when that happened, and I remember back then you couldn't say anything about anybody having HIV, or your ass would be in court or in a human rights tribunal. You couldn't discriminate against those that had it, and I don't disagree with that. I actually did agree with that, because
Me
it's
too.
nobody's damn business what
That's right.
your medical problems are if you don't want to share them.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you this, if you would have had a restaurant back then and you sicked a 16-year-old girl to the front door to ask somebody if they are HIV positive,
Yeah.
where would they have been back then?
Right.
Now, I got kicked out here in Dauphin of two of my favorite restaurants in September of last year. I supported those people when they couldn't be open to the public. I used to get takeout, and I kept trying to keep them afloat. And then when our provincial government slapped that vax passport BS on us last September, I tried going to these two places, and their staff kicked me out of there like I was a worthless piece of garbage. All because some government idiot told them that they couldn't let me in there without a card. And I've recorded both of those incidents, and I haven't set foot in those places again, nor I ever. And I told them both, they said, well, you can always take takeout. And I said, you know what? I took takeout from you when nobody else could go in there. But now that you're letting some people in and me not, you can take your cold, greasy cardboard boxes full of your overpriced food and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. I'll go to the grocery store and buy the same food and cook it up at home for a third of the price. Screw you. And I haven't been back since.
We got to get. We've been talking a little bit about some of these financial campaigns too. I think on our side we really kind of got to get behind some of this stuff, and get people to start putting their money where their mouth is. Pay in cash and staying away from all these big banks and their scams to build a financial prison for us. Let's get rid of it all. Let's get them away from the digital currencies. Go back to doing cash and. Let's not support their system and not be complicit in this obvious authoritarian takeover. So,
exactly. Yeah. But, that all begins with building communities. And we've had a real problem doing that here locally. Guys like me are a minority.
Guys, what do you mean by guys like you, though?
Guys like me that refuse to play this needle and jab pony show and wearing these diapers that do absolutely nothing but make you sick and this is another reason why I refuse to wear those N95s. I put one on one day to go into the post office when this all started. Yeah, there I am, man.
This is Darrell's mask. I love it.
Yeah. I have another one too that has black hair on it for when I was feeling a little younger.
Oh, I see.
I bought two of them. But I was getting back to what I was saying there. I put a mask on a couple times when this BS first started. And one time that I did, I hooked my hearing aid with that strap that goes over your ear. And I dropped my $3,000 hearing aid on the concrete sidewalk outside the post office and damn near crushed it into oblivion.
Yeah, of course.
And that's why I said no more.
Yeah, and
this BS. No, screw off.
And so much of what you're saying, like these are these kind of pernicious bureaucrats, control freaks, in the background, taking a little bit too much initiative with this new club, like they feel like they have to go around beating over the head of people and bullying them into submission. Like it just smacks of, we have this sort of, we've set up this incentive structure that just empowers like all of the worst, nastiest people in our society.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. And it's just got us all at each other's throats. And for what? Yeah,
you bet. Yeah. We're kind of been all over the place a little bit here, but, just so we can wrap up my fight with the post office. That one is the one that I took the farthest, okay? Yeah. I didn't get anywhere with Canada Post. In fact, they had one guy call me that was a supervisor to this postmaster, and he basically he was just trying to ridicule me and kind of try and just convince me to drop everything. And I got pretty pissed off at him. I said, like, he asked me for my version of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I used the word accosted because that is exactly what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told him that, and he did a recap on what I was telling him, he emphasized the word accosted, just like that, eh? Just being a smart ass. And
Yeah.
I don't cotton to that bullshit. Don't talk to me like I'm 10 years old, or you're gonna have an enemy on your hands. You know, and
Yeah,
I
and you
told
know
him
what?
flat out. Like, I told this guy, I said, look, if your main reason to call me was to ridicule me, you can take your phone and go yourself with it, because I'm not going to listen to that. I said, if you're going to actually deal with me properly and get to the bottom of this and investigate what happened to me, then fine. If not, I'm hanging up right now and you can piss off.
Yeah.
So I basically did that, and then I filed a complaint against him as well.
Good.
And that went nowhere. Canada Post they just brushed me off. And I thought that's what was happening with the Canadian HRC as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I put that complaint in when it happened last September. And I phoned them about a half a dozen times and nobody would call me back. And I kept getting an answering machine. So I was starting to get really ticked off in about March and April. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden the phone rang one day, and here it was a gal from HRC apologized to me that it's taken so long and that she was going to personally be looking after my complaint. Nice. And that they were definitely taking it serious. So that happened, like I said, in early summer, late spring. And it's just got to the point now where a month ago I got a letter from her saying that they were starting to investigate, and they had sent a letter to CP and they were waiting to hear back. And then I think it was a week ago, I got another response from her saying that CP requested an extension of 3 months, I think she said. I'd have to verify that, but it was a couple months anyway. And they didn't give them the full time they requested, but they gave them till October 14th. So I'm okay with that. At least I know it's in the queue. Yep. And someone's going to be digging into it. And my whole reason for wanting to go public is to convince and tell people, do not give up. If you know you're right and you know you've been stomped on, don't take it.
Nope.
Go through the process. Go through it and at least let them know that your arm is in the air and you've had enough. You've had enough.
Yep.
And you're not going to be treated like that by somebody that's supposed to be working for you, not the other way around. And that's where I'm at here with that. And if people want to ask me questions, I have a Facebook page of my own, and they can message me there. And you know, I'll answer questions, and I'll help people if they want to proceed with complaints. And that's the only way we're going to win this, is we have to stand up and fight back.
100%.
Period.
And you have the right idea. Like, we've been saying that around here a lot, actually, is that, you know, don't take this laying down. People got to stop taking this laying down. Everybody's got to get engaged. They got to file their human rights complaints. They got to file their charter challenges. They got to file the complaints with the bureaucracies that are handling their complaints to get them to do their jobs. And we got to file the complaints against the police and then the complaints within the police bureaucracy to make sure that they're doing their jobs. Because all of the incentives right now are for them to kind of turn a blind eye, you know, like at the highest levels of our institutions, everybody's screaming to go get your vax and put on your mask. So that's what's empowering a lot of these nasty folks right now. And it's going to take it's going to take good people standing up to this bullying and calling them out for what they're doing. Yeah, 1,000%, because that's what it is. And there's no good reason. I just know it. I know from dealing with people that the guy that you're dealing with at that post office had nothing really motivating him other than just pushing somebody around and getting off on it, right?
Exactly.
He's really irritated by the fact. This is what I think they mean when they say equality, is everyone must be equally miserable. And so he sees you coming in there maskless, like, who does he think he is, not being as miserable as me? And then he comes your way to try and inflict some of that misery on you. Yeah,
you're definitely right. That is a lot of it. It's that I got a little authority and I'm going to show you, you SOB. And no, that doesn't work with me.
Most people cannot be trusted with power over other people. They just can't. It takes everybody kind of watching everybody else, keeping us all in check. Everybody watching, I'm watching you, you're watching me, and checks and balances and all that stuff. You create an imbalance like this, where these people feel so empowered that they're not even afraid of the law at this point. Then this is what you get. You get a fractured and polarized society where everybody's at each other's throats, and law enforcement is wasting time resolving personal disputes instead of enforcing laws. Yeah. It's
I want to point out to people too, it's not an easy fight. Like I'm probably one of the most stubborn SOBs on the planet. Mm-hmm. When I know I'm right, I take it to the max, and I always have, and I'm known for that around here. And since this all started, I have had to stand up to a massage therapist that actually kicked me out after he'd already been serving me for 6 months without a mask. I've had to go through quite a process with an optometrist, with a chiropractor, the medical hospital, and I gave up counting how many stores tried kicking me out. But I just stood up and said, screw you. I don't tell you how to dress in the morning. What makes you think you could tell me what I gotta wear?
That's right.
Go away. Get away from me.
And again, none of this stuff is ever.
It's not easy because you become a pariah.
Yep. And I thought I thought we lived in a
Canadian Tire.
Yeah, I thought we lived in a free society. It seems like everywhere I go these days, everybody's all yes boss, no boss, and put on your mask. And I'm like, this is not this is not a free society.
Well, I got to tell you something too, Jeff. No,
go ahead.
None of us should have to when it involves what we're shoving into our own body.
Yeah.
If I want to drink 2 dozen beer a day, I don't have to ask anybody's permission any more than I should have to ask them whether I can go without taking a needle or not.
Yeah.
It's my choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I want to say something here.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I've always fought government stupidity. I always have, and I've paid a price. There's no doubt about it. But I've also been able to look myself in the mirror and say, who are you going to piss off today? Go for it.
Yep.
Do it. Just to be you. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 words, Jeff, and that have happened to me this summer, and that's happened to this country. That's one of the most positive things that I've ever been involved in. And you know what those 2 words are? James Top.
Nice.
Okay.
Yep.
I never knew who that man was before he hit Lethbridge, Alberta. Okay, and I think this is worth mentioning because this guy has given me another round of confidence, and another reason to get up in the morning. And all the people in this country should be following him. And every move, every step he makes, they should be watching him and supporting him because he's carrying Canada on that backpack.
Yeah, that's what. Jeremy
and I mean
McKenzie
that.
Jeremy McKenzie said that to him at a town hall. He was asking him how sore his back must be after carrying the weight of the entire country on it. Yeah, that was very well received. And you know what, like, he's doing something though, like you're doing something that he's doing. And I think it's really the same thing that everybody needs to do. And it's just show some courage. And you know, he's a soldier, he's a marcher, yes. He's a very fit guy. And it's like, this is the kind of thing that I do. And I'm just going to go do my thing in defiance of all of this and stand up and speak out about it, you know? And I think that I went marching with him while he was here in Cape Breton. I walked the whole way on the island with him. So it was 149 kilometers in 4 days total.
Good for you.
Yeah, right, yeah. And, you know, it's kind of his show, like, I just want to follow along and kind of see what the whole experience is all about. And it really is something, just watching the guys wave to every car that goes by them on the highway for the entire day. It's like they're on this whole other plane of Zen when they're out there doing that with them. And I remember when we were done, I was just taking a picture, and you know, I had my arm around him and I was saying, hardest guy on the planet right here. And he was saying to me, he said, I'm just a regular guy. And I knew what he meant. I was like, I wasn't ready for it, you know? And I was like, yeah, I know. So am I. But exactly. the part that I didn't say is really like the difference between us and everybody else right now is that, you know, we understand that regular people are capable of great things, you know, and sure. And everybody else, it seems, doesn't really understand that. And so it's up to guys like James to kind of show them the way like that, you know, to show them like, all it takes is a little bit of courage, guys. And, you know, you can do great things. So I can't say enough about what he's doing for everybody. And it wasn't just him that breathed new life into it either, but don't forget about the truckers. I know, because I was here all by myself, just going around with my protest hat and filing my complaints, completely unaware as to whether or not anybody else was even feeling the same way I was. And when the trucker convoy fired up, I was like, yeah, that's where I got to be right now. And hey, that's where I met Veterans for Freedom, and the rest is history, I guess. Yeah. But people are coming together, so it's good. A lot of people are coming together around these movements. Go ahead, Darrell.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I was pretty heavily involved with the convoy stuff too. I followed that very closely. In fact, I have a class air license, and I even put an ad out on Facebook offering to take somebody's semi loaded and take it out east or whatever and unload for them free, as long as I could stay in Ottawa for a week or two with it.
Nice.
And I would bring back a load for them. All they had to do is pay the fuel. I didn't want any wages, but I didn't get any takers. Otherwise, I would have been in Ottawa with you guys. Yeah. I would have. And when that kind of fizzled out, I went into a bloody tailspin. I figured, holy mackerel, what are we going to do here, you know? Mm-hmm. And then along comes Top.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'll never forget the first day I seen his story on Facebook. And I told Kathy here, I said, come hell or high water, I got to go to Brandon and meet this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I live 2 hours north of Brandon. And he was hitting Brandon on a Thursday. And I drove over there myself, and I met him a bit west of Brandon at a little place called Griswold. And I was lucky. I hit him at lunchtime, and they were parked. So I got to have a pretty good meeting with him. And, you know, that's the first time I met him in person. And I tell everybody there's something about that man that's almost spiritual.
Yeah, everybody's
like
saying that.
When you meet him,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, he exudes an aura, almost like a spiritual being, and you can't help but like the guy. All right, like I always tell everybody in my lifetime, all the places I've worked, construction, I've done winter roads, I've had my own business. I was in the military a short time when I was a kid, and I can count on one hand the people that have affected me the way he did. And I'm not saying that to be stupid. I mean it. It's I just knew I had to help him. And
mm-hmm.
that day I came home all the way back to Dauphin, on the way home, I knew I had to get my wife to come back with me to go and see him the next night at the meet and greet there.
Mhm.
And I got Kathy to make me up a banner, and we got them to put it up on the wall there at the fire hall. And she came back with me on the Friday, and she got to meet him too. And then when we come home that day, that's when I decided to do those draws, because I had to do something to help him get to Ottawa. And that's something I could do. And,
Mhm.
you know, she's helped me with all this stuff. And it's just been such an experience. You know, because of it, I got to meet all you guys. You know, I rode my Harley all the way out there. And I wouldn't have done that for very many people. That's crazy. It was a 2,500 kilometer ride one way.
Mhm.
But that man and his mission is so inspiring that I had to do that as well, you know. And, you know, this whole movement, all the people that I've met, including James and the crew, like Dave and Christian and all them guys, I'm in regular contact with them. I met James's sister, Velvet, and we've become really good friends. Like, it's like we've known each other for all our lives, eh? And it's been so positive. I'm thankful and grateful that he came along, and he's basically he's helped me get through a lot of crap. Eh? Like, I was in a pretty low place this winter too, when that
Mhm.
convoy stuff went south with all that GoFundMe bullshit that happened there, where they stole all our money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like I said. How much more are we gonna take?
Yeah, they're going to take our money and give it to Black Lives Matter there at one point.
How much?
Yeah.
How much more are we Canadians gonna take from these pillocks?
Yeah.
Like,
And
all I want is to be left alone. I want to live my life. I want to get old and die happy. I don't want to fight my government like this.
Yeah.
Why are they doing this to us? You know, like, and that's why I had to do something to help fight back, and that's where I am here right now.
I find that there is even like a therapeutic benefit that comes from just getting involved and fighting back.
For sure.
You know? Like,
You
you'll feel
bet.
better, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to show a little clip here, Darrell. This is kind of the same stuff that you and I were talking about, like when we're dealing with, you know, establishments that don't respect your bodily autonomy, and cops who are perhaps not conversant with human rights law. I know that that wasn't the case with you in the RCMP, but I did have that experience, and so I have a recording here. You and I talked about this before a little bit, and I'm just going to show like half of this. It's about a 9-minute video, and I'm just halfway into this. This is just kind of what I was doing when I didn't know what else to do, and so here I am, just trying to buy some groceries. And you know what? I'm not going to play the whole thing, but the first half of it really does demonstrate just like the people here in my hometown, even, like, they don't want anything to do with this stuff, and they were all really nice to me. You know, most people are very accepting and polite and tolerant. But there's they're all just kind of following a protocol. So what happened was they ended up letting me come in, but they call the cops anyway, even though they're being nice about it. They're like, well, my orders are to call the cops. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, you do what you got to do. And anyway, everybody's just kind of following orders. And that's kind of the whole point of this exercise, is so I can look at them and say, okay, so we're all just following orders, right? So I'll share a little bit of that with you guys here. And there's supposed to be, this is my attempt to kind of wake people up. So it's a little bit shocking in one or two spots here, but bear with me. I don't think there's any bad language or anything. Hang on. Okay, so here I am shopping, and the manager comes up. You hear that?
No, I can't hear it.
Okay, hang on a second.
I can see the video, but I can't hear any sound.
My StreamYard foo is notoriously poor. But guys, in the comments there, I'm just going to hit play one more time and let me know if you can't hear anything.
They know me already. Yeah, if they do, then you just You know, I was the one.
Yeah, I can hear that
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
No, I don't send anybody.
Sure.
Good luck. Have a good day.
Pick on the little guy. I know.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. All right, have a good day. Gonna get you a better bat.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
I had a no frills basket.
How you doing? Good, how are you?
These are the cops.
They don't want you on the property if you're not going to wear a mask. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can't force you to wear a mask, but if they don't want you on the property, they don't want you on the property. Right, and that's the discriminatory practice, right? No, get it. It's against human rights. No, yeah, no, it's fine. Get it. No, yep. Would you like me to explain? Would you like to know how I know that? We can explain outside, right here. But right now, there. I don't want to drive. I'm not going. Well, what are your guys' wishes?
I have no choice, sir. It's a private business. At any point, I can ask anybody to leave.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you fall under a situation where you're not medical, and you inform me that, then I have to ask you to leave the building.
Okay. Well, it goes against my creed to take a leap of faith and put on that mask.
I understand that, and I understand what you're saying, but I
Right,
have
so you're discriminating against me on the basis of my creed? Is that allowed? No, you're creed. Yeah, you want to bet? You want to look up the Nova Scotia Human Rights Code right now and show me? You want to show me prohibited ground? You guys know the law, you know your jobs? How do you know?
Well, you know that
How do you know?
you're not welcome here.
Yeah?
You must be.
I don't know, you seem pretty welcome, show me.
Oh, would you like it gone? Yes or no? Yes.
Okay. So,
Please, thank you.
nope.
Yes.
Nope. We don't want to have to drag you. I know you don't. I don't want to leave. So what do we do? You leave. That's the end of the day, yeah. All right. All you do what you gotta do.
The boomers must be stopped!
And then I go
These
nuts.
boomers are unfit for leadership! They are unfit! I had 20 years of the cap. I saw look at they are. That's the same generation of leadership that gave us the Somalia affair. That's the leadership culture. That generation is at the highest level of our institutions. They don't care about anyone. You read what they did in that Somalia affair. You go read what they did. Did they ever bring anybody to justice? No, they didn't. Where do you think those leaders went, huh? Where'd they go? They're still here. They're still in that institution. They're still there, and they're at the highest levels now. And you know what's going on? You know what I see? I see leaders across all our institutions saying the same thing, down in the same way. I listen to those fake, self-absorbed, ruthless boomer leaders talk to their subordinates my entire career. You are not the property of some bureaucrat. You are not livestock. I didn't go to war twice to watch my people be treated like livestock by some goddamn self-important bureaucrat. Have a good day.
That was to the greeter.
Who is that speaking?
No, sir.
Was that you speaking there?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm MGXM.
okay.
I hope you know that's the last thing we wanted to do in there.
There you go. So that was kind of what I was doing before the convoy and the and James Top and all that. I'm glad I'm not anymore because even though you can't see it, I'm in handcuffs there while I'm yelling and stuff. That was kind of the whole shtick that I was doing. I was just kind of going around, keeping my cool and being nice and calm and trying to explain to everybody, you know, that this is wrong and that it violates human rights code. And it's like James Top said, like, just show a little bit of courage, like hold your ground, stand your ground and say, no, this is wrong. Like, and I'm willing to, I'm willing to go down for this, right? For this principle. And that's really what courage is all about, guys. It's about punching up, and it's about, doing the right thing, even though you're afraid. Like the difference between guys who have courage
Yep.
and the coward is not necessarily that the guy who has courage isn't afraid. It's that he does what he's going to do despite the fact that he's afraid.
Yeah.
And I don't want to blow my own horn here too much, but that was the one. Let me see, because that was Walmart.
Well, you're not blowing your horn, Jeff. You're telling facts, and that's what we got to do.
I'm trying to show like some kind of an example here, and not everybody is me.
Exactly.
Like, I kind of have my own personal qualities about me, and I sort of saw like, okay, like I was the human rights guy in my career.
Yeah.
I'm not very easily intimidated. Like I was a senior NCO at the end. I was an MWO 4 years at the end of my 20-year career. I did mixed martial arts and boxing and all kinds of stuff. So I'm not very easily intimidated. And I just kind of said, okay, well, I don't know what else to do. I think I'll just start filing human rights complaints and standing up to people. Right. So
Yeah. Good for you.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for hearing me out on that. And I was just looking to see if I could find the human rights complaint that I filed over that. And I definitely did. But yeah, this is all in the works. I have one with the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission. I have one with Walmart. I showed you the Pipers and Puffs one. That was really more like a small business. So I'm not really very I'm not really like inspired to go hard on that one because it is a small business. But the big corporations and the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission, all the guys who stayed open while the mandates crushed the small business sector, I don't have one bit of a problem going after them, a bit of compunction, I should say. So, I'm not saying you got to get arrested or anything, guys, and you don't got to scream your head off in the middle of Walmart or anything. But I thought maybe I could shock some people while educating them, because that's kind of what it takes right now. Is
Sometimes.
At that time, people were still so afraid and still kind of just going around in that fog of fear that I reasoned that the only way to reach them was by hitting them in the fear. And that's kind of what happens. You can't be rational and you can't be emotional at the same time. And if so, everybody is just kind of following their own emotions. You kind of got to hit them in the feels to knock them off track, right, and get them to listen to you. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, unfortunately, here locally, I still see every, I would say 1 out of 4 or 5 people are still wearing a mask. And, that BS has been lifted now for 5 months or whatever it is. And I still see idiots driving around in their own vehicles by themselves wearing a mask.
I've seen married couples both masked in the car. Like, oh man.
How does that work at night?
I have no idea. And at that point, like, it really is just virtue signaling. It's like, I am so feel, and I am so, like it's a fealty exercise. They're saying, look at me, I believe this so much, and I'm such a good person that I'll even wear my mask in the car with the person with whom I live. They probably were sleeping next to each other. Oh my God, it's kind of like psychological trauma, though. I do appreciate that. I think people have been traumatized. That
was another good thing about Top's excursion across Canada. And for me, especially, like I said, I rode my hog out there, almost 2,600 Ks one way, and never wore a mask. I never, of course. Mm-hmm. And how many people you think was on that memorial there? I guess around 3,000. I couldn't go. I know you couldn't. Yeah, but I would say, it was in the thousands. It was really something to watch. Well, do you know how many people walked up to me because of that green T-shirt and shot their hand out at me or hugged me? And they, some of them were crying. They were, and I was a couple times there when Top walked up those steps. You'd have to be one cold-hearted son of a bitch to not be moved by that. And I had, I had people crying on my shoulder. I could feel the wet tears, and I come all the way home with nary a sniffle. Sorry, I just got a bloody phone call there.
That's okay. I was just going to say, I even heard from a couple of the close protection guys, the guys working his protection detail in Ottawa, that it's a good thing they had their shades on when he actually reached the tube there and he first he took that first breath in. You could just hear. It was like he was getting ready to sob, and I think as soon as that happened, all the close protection guys were like, they were good. They were glad to have their polarized sunglasses on at that time, I think.
Yeah,
just for what they told me. I'm not going to say any names, but I mean, that's another thing. Like, there's a real kind of misconception, I think, out there about veterans too. There's a lot of stigma around it and everything, and we all look like we're these hard, mean, bad guys and stuff like that. But we're the good guys, like we're on your side. Like, we don't want to hurt good people. We want to protect them. Sometimes when you're kind of, you're doing that dance with evil and stuff like that over the course of your lifetime, that takes a toll on people. Like you said, like fighting does take a toll on you. The kind of damage that does psychologically, I think, manifests as like irritability and aggression are kind of symptoms of that. But we're not violent in the sense that we're bullies. Like, we want to stand up to bullies, and we want to kick the asses off of bad guys, not push people around.
Exactly. When I went to up to the monument there, like, I had a stroke 5 years ago, and I don't walk very good, and I went there with Neil Thunder. He drove the van, and we parked, 6 blocks away or whatever. I had to walk, and we came upon one Ottawa cop there. He was parked along the street, and he was talking to some girls, and we interacted with him, and he knew who we were, and he wasn't aggressive or anything. He was actually very friendly to us, and we bumped fists with him, and that's the way the whole thing was for me. We had no trouble there with the cops or the people that came, other than those couple of protesters, but nobody took them seriously anyway. And the cops kind of surrounded them and kept them under pretty good control. Nobody bothered us, It was just all around positive.
Yeah. Except for that, there was just a couple of people that were sort of making trouble there. That's what the press will run with. I mean, that's the headline. The first word on the headline will be 4 arrests made as Sergeant charged with court-martial offense, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the way they're going to present it. But I'm sure that for the guys that were there, especially the veterans, the last place they want to see any violence is on that hallowed ground there at the monument. So,
of course not.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be an affront to the dignity of veterans, Canadian veterans everywhere. Like, it's just it's sacred ground.
I've never been to Ottawa before. That was another reason why I wanted to do it. It was kind of on my bucket list. Like, I've driven truck all over Ontario and the States and everything, but never to Ottawa. And I got to put my hand on that tomb.
Nice.
And it was quite a feeling. It's hard to explain. But
no, I don't think you need to explain it to me.
Well worth it. Oh. No, I don't. But the people out there need to know what kind of a feeling it is, and they also need to know that when arseholes like Global News and CTV and CBC try and portray us, meaning veterans or people that have respect for that ground, when they try and portray us like they do, the public has to know that is absolute BS, and they need to fight back against those so-called legacy media arseholes, because they're just creating a false sense of disrespect, and it's wrong. It's wrong on so many angles. It's unreal. And
they're treating us like livestock.
That's why we need to. Yes, because we're tired of seeing our country swirl in the toilet.
Well, not only that, but I
it's
mean,
unbelievable what they're doing.
like they seem to be treating our children like they're pharmacological livestock to be profited from. You know,
Yes.
from everything from this, everything from the gender dysphoria issue that's going on right now, where they're transitioning children who
Yeah.
you know, get confused during adolescence, to the vaccine mandate. I mean, there's a real issue around informed consent in this country when it comes to medical experimentation and medical procedures. And I think that's a very good kind of barometer to measure just how much respect we're really showing in this country to human dignity. But Darrell, listen, buddy, I think I'm just going to pitch this over to you to give us a final thought here. It's been a really great chat. We killed an hour and 15 like it was nothing. Just kind of ranting about the government, but we need to do that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I said, I think you set a really good example in holding your
Yeah.
ground, and
Yes,
we
do.
need to show some of that to people, right?
Yes, we do. We're on, and people need to wake up. You know, it's our own government is attacking us, and the unfortunate part is so many people don't see that, and they view us, meaning us people that know what's going on, they view us as the enemy.
Yeah.
And all we're trying to do is to save their asses, and save their families, and save ours, and get the governments to leave us the hell alone. Let us live our lives. Don't put us.
Not getting you? I think you just cut out. No, Darrell, I'm not getting your audio there, buddy. Okay. I think you might be having some issues again there, guys. So apologies, but that's just kind of a sign of the time these days. You know, we have people in all kinds of different locations, so who knows what their internet connectivity is going to be like. But I really appreciate Darrell Inkster reaching out, and he's a V4F member. And I'm always saying, you know, that this isn't my podcast. It's not really here to make me a star or anything like that. It's here to provide a platform to give veterans a bit of a platform. And we really want to focus on providing that veteran perspective and getting it out there. And as you can see, like, service really attracts a certain type of personality, and that's always been the case. So there are a lot of the strongest, most principled people in the military and who have served that are out there. And you know, I just got to say, it's a real honor to be a part of all of this, with everybody kind of coming together around our common principles, and really kind of starting to show people what we got, and set an example and provide a little bit of leadership, I hope, for the rest of Canada when it comes to securing our freedoms and securing our future for generations to come. So with that, I'll say thanks one more time, Darrell, for coming on and sharing your story. Sorry about the connectivity issues, but that's just kind of the way it is these days. And to all the troops out there, stay frosty and stay safe.